Welcome back to MMA Al Dente. I am the guy who picked Dave Menne to defeat Murillo Bustamante. And I'm here to talk about the co-main event for this upcoming fight card, Anthony Smith versus Ryan Spann 2. This is the rematch that you have all been waiting for. Ryan Spann is 32 years old, 21-8 as a pro, and he's got 1 inch of height and 5.5 inches of reach. He's fucking gigantic. Over 35-year-old Anthony Smith, who is 36-18 as a pro. This is a rematch, as I said, from not long ago, relatively. And it's a fight in which Anthony Smith ran through Ryan Spann, pretty much. Ryan Spann picked Anthony Smith up, looked like he was going to toss him around like a pizza dough. And Anthony Smith, once they settled down and they were striking, Anthony Smith clipped him coming in right away and had Ryan Spann staggering. And even though he didn't get the finish, Anthony Smith was never really losing from that point on. He got him down, almost put him in a rear naked choke. They scrambled out. Anthony Smith protected himself against Ryan Spann's guillotine in one moment by having wrist control. And then once they were standing up again, he clipped him again. And then once he was on top of him, when he was rocked, he got his hooks in and choked him. It was a great win for Anthony Smith, but Anthony Smith, in the few years since then, or whatever it is, under 2 years, he's certainly looked like he's gotten a little older. That Johnny Walker fight was his last fight, and that was, you know, a shitty performance. I'd hate to harp on it and talk about what he should have done, and if I was in there, I would have been like, "Bah!" He just hit the guy. It's all so fucking simple when you're sitting on your couch. I understand that. But, I mean, I would think he would have learned from the Ryan Spann fight. Ryan Spann is similar to Johnny Walker. They're both fucking gigantic, very, very dangerous, but also very, very vulnerable. And whereas Anthony Smith bit down on his mouthpiece and threw down against Ryan Spann and clipped him, he never really had that moment against Johnny Walker. Didn't look like he tried to fight for that moment. It looked like he was content losing a decision and not getting finished. So it wasn't very encouraging. But still, Anthony Smith, by and large, he's a finisher. He's got 33 finishes in his 36 wins. Yeah, so he's a finisher. And my point is he's still very dangerous. And for a guy with the same, if not more, vulnerabilities than Ryan Spann, Anthony Smith is definitely in the realm of winning this fight. But he has to fight him. He can't stay on the outside of Ryan Spann, because Ryan Spann will chew him up. Ryan Spann, he's got 6 wins via knockout, 12 via submission. Most of the knockouts is just straight up knockouts. Most of the submissions are guillotine chokes, one of the best weapons in the division. He's a killer. And I do think he hits harder than Anthony Smith, certainly, but he's vulnerable with that chin. And as far as grappling goes, I think he loses the grappling match straight up to Anthony Smith, but he's a black belt himself, I think, Ryan Spann. However, he's a little more vulnerable to getting subbed these days. Nikita Krylov triangled him. Anthony Smith rear naked choked him. And way back when, he lost to Robert Drysdale, which is no shame in that. That guy's a world-class grappler. It wasn't his day anyway. But here, I think this fight will end at a finish. And I've got Anthony Smith. I think Anthony Smith knows he has to make shit happen. And he touched that chin, and it's like a magic button. And I'm picking him to get it done. I wouldn't be surprised at all if Ryan Spann won. I think he's winning every minute until he gets clipped. I think he's chewing Anthony Smith up from the outside, and he would be wise to try to kick that leg in half, because Ryan Spann, everything he throws is deadly. But I'm going with Smith. I think Anthony Smith will clip him and get it done. I've played Anthony Smith's money line. I've played Anthony Smith. I've played the under as well, under 1.5 rounds at -175. I don't really like under 1.5, but here I just think there's a lot of vulnerabilities to go around. So I threw a sprinkle on that as well. But yeah, the pick, even though I'm not invested too heavily, is Anthony Smith. Could come via knockout or submission, but I think it would be a finish, and I think it would happen in the first half of the fight before he gets his leg chopped in half or gets knocked dead by, you know, Ryan Spann. So, Anthony Smith, like, share, subscribe, all that horse shit. Check out my other videos.